everyone. Can you guys hear me? All right. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Ting, and I lead product marketing for LinkedIn Pages. It's really great to meet all of you. I'm joined today by my colleague, Sabo Dilawari, who leads product marketing for Content Experience. And together, we are so excited to be here today to share with you how organizations of all sizes all over the world can find success with live streaming on our platform. So to get started, I want to kick things off by sharing with you guys a bit of background around LinkedIn and share with you our vision so you can better understand what drives us every day. I also want to share with you guys why live streaming is strategically important and you should invest. I'll then go into how you can get started with live streaming on our platform, as well as share with you our best content ideas. We'll also share with you guys some of the best-in-class examples we've been seeing from brands who have already gone live. I'll then go over best practices and also give you some tips on how you can measure success and prove the value of your efforts. Now, just a quick ask of everyone, because we only have 50 minutes to go through a good amount of content, please hold your questions till the very end and actually submit them through the Slido. We'll have about 15 minutes to do a Q&A at the end of the session. Sound good? Awesome. So to kick things off, our vision at LinkedIn is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. Now, this vision is what drives us every day, and it informs everything we do, from the products we build to whom we build them for. And the way that LinkedIn Marketing Solutions contributes to this vision is by helping businesses grow. Because when businesses grow, they tend to hire more people to do more jobs, thus creating more opportunity around the world. And I want to share with you why now, more than ever before, we are best positioned to help businesses win. As of today, we have over 645 million professionals on our platform, 40 million of which are senior-level business decision makers, people who have the ability to drive tangible business outcomes. 100 million of our members log in at least once a month to engage with the feed, to network, and to learn about ways that they can improve their careers as well as their businesses. Now, you might be wondering, how do you actually stand out and capture the attention of this rich and growing professional community? The answer to that is video. So you might be surprised to hear that video is the answer, so let me give you some background. Video is by far the fastest growing content type we have on our platform. It's actually 5 times more likely to generate a conversation than all other media types. And building on that, we have seen that LinkedIn Live can generate on average 24 times more comments than even regular video, which is pretty incredible. More broadly speaking, we're also finding that live video is such an engaging format for audiences that actually 82% of audiences would prefer to see live video from a brand over social posts. So hopefully this is giving you a sense of why it's important to invest in this new format. And you may also be wondering, how does one actually get started with live streaming on our platform? That's exactly what I want to go over next, is how you can begin down the path of live streaming. So to begin, you need to first apply. There is an application process because we want our members to have a quality and engaging viewing experience. So my team reviews all applications for organizations and pages, and Saba's team reviews all applications for members. And I would say together, probably one of the most common questions we get is, what's your criteria, right? Like, what are you looking for? And I want to emphasize that while I don't have any hard and fast rules, something I do look for are brands that make an effort to regularly engage their audiences in a conversation. Brands that take the time to respond to their comments and build a community for their followers. In fact, for any brand that's hoping to find success on LinkedIn, this is key, is to ask people questions, get their opinion, and respond to your comments. This is not only going to help you get approved to live stream, but it's actually just going to help your post stand out in the feed in general. Now, for those of you who want to apply for live streaming and have not yet, you can actually scan this QR code that is up on the screen, and it will take you directly to a pretty quick application. I'll pause here for a minute so you guys have a chance to scan, but just so you guys know, at the very end of the presentation, I'll stop at a screen that also has the same QR code, so you should all have a chance. Just a couple of minutes. All right. So after you apply, if you are approved, you will receive an email with a wealth of resources, including information on our partner streaming tools. Now, this is because in order to live stream on LinkedIn, you have to integrate with one of our partner streaming tools, of which we currently have 10. Now, each of these tools has different pricing plans, benefits, and customer support options. It's ultimately up to you to make a decision on which of these is the best fit for your organization's needs. However, we do break down the benefits you can expect from each of these different partner tools on our LinkedIn Live Resource Hub. Again, if you apply and you're approved, you'll receive an email with a link to this hub that will have a wealth of resources on getting started. If you're just interested, though, in seeing what kind of information is included here, you can feel free to scan this QR code as well. It takes you directly to the Resource Hub. And I'll pause here for a couple minutes. All right, so now you have applied, you've been approved, you've selected your partner streaming tool, and you've integrated with them. Now's the time to start thinking about your content strategy. And honestly, this is where most people get the most tripped up, and they start to feel a little intimidated by the process. And I think the reason why is because a lot of people just have this misconception that live streaming is challenging and that it's a heavy lift and that it's very hard to get started, and you have to build this whole strategy around it. What I want to emphasize with everyone here today is that live streaming is actually not meant to be challenging or additive to your existing strategy. You actually don't have to build a whole new strategy around live. It's actually meant to enhance and complement what you already have planned. So I'll give you a couple examples. Say you're hosting a live in-person event. You should live stream it to help you better scale it. Do you have a new product or feature that's launching? To really drive engagement and demand and interest in your product launch, you could host a Q&A and also do a demo from your page. Whatever it is you already have planned, live streaming can play a major role in amplifying it. So what I want to do now is share with you guys some of the best content ideas that we have, some of the ideas that we've seen other brands leverage on our platform and find a lot of success with. Up first is events. This is actually the best way we've seen marketers leverage LinkedIn Live. So if you're already hosting an in-person event, the best way to scale it is to actually live stream it to your digital audience and treat them as if they're an actual voice and presence in the room. Give them access to keynote panels, take them behind the scenes on a tour of the event, or host a Q&A with the panelists as well as the other event attendees so that they can actually ask questions and feel like they're there as well. Demonstrating innovation and thought leadership is another great way to leverage LinkedIn Live. In fact, very oftentimes, brands come to LinkedIn specifically for the purpose of demonstrating their thought leadership, their industry authority, their subject matter expertise, as well as showcase their latest innovation. So if you have a product that you're very excited about launching, you could host a live stream and do a demo from your page. You could also take people behind the scenes and interview a member of your R&D team about what their overall development process was like. Do you have corporate social responsibility initiatives? You could host a live stream where you talk about the progress you've made against those goals. And finally, you can consider hosting a panel discussion where you simply discuss trends that are happening within your industry. Now, news is another great way to leverage LinkedIn Live. I've seen a lot of brands actually take advantage of this format to announce major breaking news within their industry and actually getting their executive team to weigh in with their perspective. Also, oftentimes brands will announce their own big news and allow their audience to ask questions of them directly. You could also announce big news such as M&As as a way to make announcements on your page. Now, another great content idea is introducing a consistent level of interactivity with each of your streams. Members really value being able to connect with organizations they admire. And there's a lot of ways to do this. For example, you could facilitate a Q&A with your executive team and allow your digital audience to ask questions of them directly. You could also host an Ask Me Anything or create a serial-based content. This is actually something we've seen perform really well on the platform, where members are encouraged to participate in a stream that happens at the same time every week. By basically providing consistency and always hosting a stream at the same time every week, members will instinctively know to tune in, and they'll oftentimes mention professionals or friends within their network to also join in, helping you to build an audience with less marketing effort. Talent branding is another great way to leverage LinkedIn Live. Do you have a big role that you're really excited to fill? You could host an Ask Me Anything with a hiring manager. You could also take your digital audience behind the scenes and give them a tour of your office. Also, one very engaging and effective tactic I've seen is I see brands oftentimes spotlighting employees and asking them about their passions for working for your company, as well as about their passions outside of work. This is a really great way to give people insight into what it's actually like to work for your business, and also will help you to stand out amongst top talent. And finally, celebrating anniversaries and achieving major milestones is a great way to leverage LinkedIn Live. If you meet a major milestone, such as your quarterly earnings results, you should live stream that. You could also congratulate employees on achieving major promotions. So I know I've just walked you guys through a lot of different content ideas. Hopefully the creative juices are starting to flow. What I want to do next is share with you guys examples of how brands are bringing these ideas to life on the platform. But before I go into too much detail here, I first want to take a step back, give you guys some context on why we felt that these examples you're about to see are indeed the best ones, and why they're particularly powerful. Now, in all of these examples, these brands are not live streaming content just for the sake of live streaming. They were really taking it a step above and really trying to bring their digital audience into the experience and treat them as if they were actual voice and presence in the room. They gave them access to people, ideas, and events they normally wouldn't have access to. And on top of that, they were really encouraging engagement, not just between the brand and the audience themselves, but they were actually encouraging the audience to interact with one another. And this is really important because when you do something like this, when members actually create these meaningful connections with each other and with your brand, what you've done is you've created this valuable brand moment, something that they're going to continue to associate with your brand long after your stream is over. So let's jump into these examples. The first category is around events, and there's two great examples here. The first one is from Microsoft, when they live streamed their annual Inspire conference and transported their digital audience on stage to hear their CEO talk firsthand about the technological possibilities with Microsoft, as well as important strategic insights for partners. Now, the really important thing to call out here is that this same keynote speech was actually live streamed to all major media platforms, but the highest engagement and views were actually on LinkedIn. And I think that's important to know because it shows how good of a fit this type of content is for our platform, and also how hungry people are to see this type of content. Another great example comes from Digitas, when they live streamed their annual Digitas Newsfront conference and gave their digital audience firsthand a chance to hear from some of the biggest names in entertainment and media, and also learn from new leading-edge content creators. Now, in terms of demonstrating thought leadership, this is a great example coming from National Geographic, when they live streamed their 2019 Explorers Festival. Now, this is not only a great example of how you can scale an event, but it's also a great example of demonstrating thought leadership, because here they brought together some of the world's top scientists and conservationists to share their best ideas for how to create a more sustainable future. And I want to emphasize that the comments and engagement with this post was especially high. Some other great examples of demonstrating thought leadership come from Workday, when they hosted a discussion to spotlight healthcare trends in the workplace. They actually had a member of their marketing team moderating all the comments and sharing the feedback and the questions live to the speakers. And they also promoted the stream with the hashtag #WorkdayChats. Pfizer also provides a great example of when they discussed the future of vaccinations at the Aspen Institute. And actually, members of the sciences community actually tuned in to the live stream so they could share their perspective as well with the speakers. And the speakers actually responded in real time, driving a really rich conversation. Now, we've got some really great talent branding examples. One of them comes from Cisco, which is a brand that has been live streaming pretty frequently and finding a lot of success with it on the platform. So in this example here, Cisco had a panel discussion with their talent team as well as their employees to discuss why they love working at the company, as well as sharing their top tips on landing your dream job and also what it's really like to work there. Another example comes from Thrive Global, where their CEO, Arianna Huffington, hosted a discussion with their audience on how to effectively communicate in the workplace. And they answered questions on topics such as how to give and receive feedback. And because they were so proactive in asking the audience for questions, they received a good volume of thoughtful and challenging questions. Now, announcing news and celebrating important moments is one of the best ways to just highlight the best your brand has to offer. A great example comes from MIT, when they live streamed their 2019 commencement ceremonies. Now, this is not only a great opportunity to celebrate the graduating bachelor's and master's candidates, but also created this very large community of prospective students, alumni, and friends and family of the students who are graduating on that day that they streamed this commencement ceremony. This next example I really love. It's one of my favorites. It's from Infosys. And in this example, their APAC team live streamed a discussion around their quarterly earnings results. And the reason why I love this is two reasons. One is that this is a global example, right? Because it's actually their APAC team that's leading this discussion. The second reason why I love this is because the same stream, again, was broadcast to other major media platforms. But again, the engagement and the number of views was highest on our platform, which just goes to show how hungry people are for this type of content. Now, remember earlier how I said series-based content performs very well on the platform? I've got two examples for you of some brands that do it well. The first one is from a startup called Gong Labs, where every Thursday at the same time, they host a Q&A with their audience. They start off by talking about sales tips, but they always open it up to people to ask questions directly. And over time, they found organically that their audiences has grown with less marketing effort. Another great example comes from Pendo, another startup where they host a weekly show with their product-focused audience and again, allow them to ask questions directly. Some other great examples of interactive streams comes from the Mullings Group, where their president and CEO live streamed a discussion on what it's like to join a small consulting firm versus a large one. Also, Ernst & Young hosted a live Q&A from the Cannes Lion Festival to talk about how professionals can shape and change conversations that are happening in the workplace. Last but not least, showcasing innovation is one of the top things we see happening on the platform. And a great example comes to us here from eBay, where they had their CEO announce some exciting updates they were making to their marketplace. Also, I love this example from the Family Office Club when they had one of their advisors sharing their top insights, models, and strategies for helping private investors maximize their return. So I know I've just gone through a lot of different examples. These are just some of the best ways we've seen our earliest adopters really take advantage of LinkedIn Live. And again, in all these examples, the reason why they were so powerful is because they really made an effort to treat their digital audience as if they were actually in the room with them. In addition to that, there are some other best practices that these brands are following that we've observed that we'd love to share with you guys. We've actually grouped these best practices into things that you should consider before the stream, during, as well as after. So in terms of things you should be paying attention to before the stream, the first thing I highly recommend is making sure you really understand and analyze your audience. In particular, you want to pay attention to what location they're in. The reason why this is important is because you want to live stream at a time when people are online and captive. Now, if you go to the follower tab of your page analytics, you will find a wealth of information on who your followers are in addition to their location. So definitely recommend checking that out. You also want to make sure to maximize your viewership, that you promote your stream before it happens. Now, there's different ways to do this. You can promote your stream organically by simply posting details about the date and time of your stream to your page so your followers can make time to tune in. You could also, to drive broader promotion, consider leveraging one of our ad solutions. For example, you could run a sponsored content campaign and drive prospective viewers to a landing page, but they can learn more about the topics you're going to cover, as well as the guests who are going to be attending. And you can encourage them to follow your page so they'll be notified when you actually do go live. Also, best practice is to hashtag your stream. Hashtags are actually one of the best ways to get discovered organically on our platform. So you could include hashtags such as LinkedIn Live or other trending hashtags that are related to your industry. Now, there are also some other technical considerations you should take into account before your stream happens. The first of which is test your internet connection, right? You can actually do this through sites such as speedtest.net, and you just want to make sure you have an upload speed of at least 10 megabytes per second. And this next one sounds obvious, but it's just always good to say. You want to make sure you have the right people in the room and that they're ready to take on their roles. Obviously, someone has to operate the camera, but even more importantly, you need someone who's going to be dedicated to moderating comments, right? That's really how you're going to transport your audience into your experience and also really help drive up that engagement. Lastly, you should plan to stream for at least 15 minutes. This is important because the more time you stream, the more time you're going to have to build up an audience. Now, in terms of things you should be keeping in mind during the stream, I have 3 tips for you. The first of which is to be prepared. You should have a general grasp of your entire run of show. And you should maybe even do a dry run with the people who are participating so no one's caught off guard by the content or the flow. That being said, don't over-prepare. I've definitely seen some times where people memorize their lines and it just comes off a little robotic, and it actually can backfire because it doesn't feel very authentic, right? People want to be able to relate to you. So don't aim for perfection, don't aim for memorization. Just trust that you know the gist of what you're talking about and go with it. Also, because of the nature of live streaming, something at some point is going to happen that's going to catch you off guard. So don't sweat it, just go with it and be flexible. You will be rewarded for your authenticity. Now, these next tips that I have to share with you are ways that you can actually help maximize viewers while your stream is happening. The first tip I have is that you should actually ask the employees within your network as well as your partners to reshare the stream with their networks to give you additional boost. On LinkedIn, we actually find that employees tend to have 10 times the global reach of most pages. So definitely leverage your employees as your advocates. You also want to make sure that you @mention any executives or guests that are also going to be appearing on the live stream with you. In doing so, it makes it easier for them to reshare that post with their network and also give you a boost through their professional network. And last but not least, I already mentioned this, but worth mentioning again, that during the stream, someone should be actively moderating the comments. This is going to be really key in making sure that you drive up your engagement. Now, after the stream is actually where a lot of magic can happen. Your live stream is filled with original and engaging content. And one of the best things that I recommend you can do is to download the stream and slice it into key moments so that you can actually create a highlight reel. Now, this shortened highlight reel will be instrumental in making sure that you can actually maximize the number of views and the overall awareness of your content because it is shorter in nature. And after you create this highlight reel, you can promote it by posting it organically on your page, or you can actually drive broader promotion by turning it into a sponsored video ad. Now, one last tip I want to share with you guys. It comes up sometimes from some companies. I just want to make sure you guys are aware. We really, really do not recommend uploading pre-recorded video. In fact, it's actually considered a taboo. So the main reason why is because when members are logging in to watch your live stream, they expect it to be live, right? That's the whole point. They want to be able to interact with you. So if they realize that actually it's a pre-recorded video, it's really going to create a breakdown of trust. It's tempting because it's pre-recorded and you have some control over the editing, but it really is not something we allow for, so just want to make sure you guys are aware. All right, so I do have one last slide here around the equipment that we recommend you guys invest in if you want to create high quality video at a relatively low cost. The first is a smartphone tripod. A smartphone tripod or a gimbal will really help you to keep your shot stable. Also, don't get caught without a good light source. Carry your own LED light. And finally, this last one is the one I'd push the most out of all three of these. It would make a huge difference, is getting some kind of external mic. So you can consider a lavalier mic, a wireless mic, or a boom mic. And these days, you can actually get a pretty good quality Bluetooth lavalier mic for around $50 to $100. So definitely worth the investment. So you've heard a lot about me on how to apply, our best content ideas, our best examples, as well as best practices. Now it's time to tie it all together and show you guys how you can actually measure success and prove the value of all of your efforts. Now, this is an important section I get asked about a lot, and before I go into the details, I would first recommend that you guys really take the time to think about what are your objectives when it comes to live streaming, right? Because for every brand, it's going to be different. Depending on what your objective is, there's different metrics that will make sense. So on LinkedIn, with the brands we work with, typically these are the top 3 objectives. Usually you find brand awareness amongst them. And if brand awareness is a goal for you, then you can consider tracking your peak concurrent live viewers, which are essentially the highest number of members that were watching your live stream at any given point. You could also consider tracking your total viewers, which are essentially the total number of members that were watching live as well as during the replays. Now, if your goal is real-time engagement, you can consider tracking, again, your peak concurrent live viewers, as well as your total live engagements, which are essentially measured in reactions and comments that you got while your session was live. Now, if you track these metrics over time, you'll start to get a sense of what kind of live engagement you can expect with each stream and start to benchmark yourself for success. Now, if your goal is overall total engagement, you can consider tracking your total live engagements as well as your total engagements overall, which would include reactions and comments that came not only from the live stream, but as well as during the replays. And I think it's worth calling out, because I do get asked this sometimes, do members actually watch the replays? Actually, a significant number of them do. So definitely make sure to pay attention to what's happening with the replays as well. Now, in addition to these metrics, we also offer some secondary metrics to help you better test and optimize your streams for each time. The first of which is your drop-off point. Now, this is an important metric to pay attention to if you're really trying to increase engagement. Say, for example, that you notice a good number of your viewers are actually dropping off after tuning in for just a little bit. This can be an indication that you need a stronger opening or a better introduction so that people know what they're about to miss out on when they do tune out. It could also mean that your content isn't really resonating with them. So a way that can help you inform what kind of content will resonate is to check out your page analytics. There's a wealth of information provided in your page analytics that will show you what your followers care about, as well as where they're located, what function they work in, what job industry, down to their exact level of seniority. This kind of information will help you to tailor your content better for your audience and also help you to minimize your drop-off rate. Staying on top of your drop-off point as well as your drop-off rate will be key in optimizing your future streams. And finally, if you notice that your total viewers are not increasing over time or that they're actually declining, one thing you should do is actually check out your intro copy. Most members will actually base off their interest. Most members will gauge their interest for a live stream based entirely off the intro copy alone. So make sure that you test it out, test out length, and test out different types of keywords to really optimize for the number of viewers that tune in. All right, so that was a lot of information I just walked you guys through. What I want to do now is actually invite my colleague Saba on stage so we can actually do a Q&A. And hopefully you guys were adding questions to the Slido as we were going along. And also just another quick plug, if you have not yet applied for LinkedIn Live but would like to, the QR code is again up here for you guys to scan. All right. So let's see if there's any questions from the Slido. Does anyone just have questions in general from the audience?
We're coming down with the wireless mic.
I have one. Oh, I'm really loud. It's okay. Oh, here we go. I think a couple people actually asked this on the Slido. So the general question is like, what's a better strategy, or what would drive you to one strategy versus another? Applying as an individual, like an executive at a company, and driving the streams through that account versus doing it through a corporate account. Like, for example, executive actually might have more followers than the corporate account, but you want the connection back to the corporate account. So how do you manage that dynamic and make those decisions?
Do you want me to take that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great question. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Okay. Great question. So this kind of depends on what the content idea is. If you have an executive who has a lot of followers and is really eager to get on the platform to talk about some of his or her ideas and kind of want to do more of a personal and professional branding type of content strategy, then that's a great place to start. If it does well, if people are eager to hear more, then maybe that's time for you to create a strategy for your brand as well. Alternatively, if there's a big event coming up that represents your brand, or there's a big product announcement, it's typically best if you do those kinds of things from your brand page, despite the follower count discrepancy between an executive team, just because it represents your brand a little bit better. But one thing is clear is that you should encourage both. There's definitely room to have a brand strategy for live video coupled with an executive strategy. It's just kind of about who's worth testing at the beginning.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also just say that if your intent is to brand yourself as a professional, then it should come from the executives page. But if your intent is to really drive promotion and to build your corporate brand, it should come from the page. So I think it all starts with your intent. I see there's actually some good questions on the Slido. One of them comes from Dan. He says, will the ability to pre-schedule and promote the session become available? Such a good question. I think we get that pretty frequently. It's definitely on our radar. I would say it's probably on our roadmap as well to have a way to pre-schedule and promote.
Yep.
And in the interim, while you can't promote it directly, I did mention there are some ways to leverage our existing solutions to promote it, such as sponsored content. I've seen some brands do that very effectively. And will the live stream be recorded and available for future watching?
Yes. If you're talking about live streams on LinkedIn, once the live stream is over, it'll automatically stay on your page and will look really like a native video. The only difference is that it will say so-and-so was live. So unless you actually go in and actively delete the stream from the LinkedIn interface, all live streams are available to watch forever.
And this next question I think is a great one for Saba. Can you sign up for personal live streaming? And if so, how can someone grow their personal page using LinkedIn Live? What kind of content would you suggest?
Yeah, great question. So as Ting mentioned, you can apply as a member or a page. You can also apply as an admin of the page. If you also want to grow your own professional and personal brand, you can stream as a member. I would say that you can definitely use LinkedIn Live as a way to grow your presence. It's just all about knowing who your follower base is and what they want from you. So what we've seen that has worked really well is that a member will be approved, and their first stream is a very casual, authentic stream of just simply doing kind of an AMA style stream where they're asking their followers what do they want to hear more about. If you're an expertise in advertising or marketing, are there any particular questions that you all have that you want to learn more about? Take all of those suggestions that are coming in from the stream and then start thinking about your strategy and what content works best. It's really important to test a bunch of different things, because ultimately what's going to get you good engagement and get you growth is making sure that you're providing valuable content that your followers think that you're equipped to provide. So in terms of what content would you suggest, I would suggest if you get approved, start simple. Don't sign up for anything too crazy right away. Start simple with something like an AMA. People love hearing more authentic streams and hearing the real you, nothing too rehearsed. So just be honest that you got approval and you want to know what you guys are wanting to hear from, and go from there.
So many great questions coming through.
Yeah.
This one here, it says, how do you save and download the video after finishing it for later editing?
Yeah.
Great question.
Do you want to take it? Okay. Yeah, so like Ting mentioned, the live streaming on LinkedIn is only possible through these third-party tool integrations of all the companies that she listed. Many of those tools allow you to download from that interface. So you would have to either select an option for you to record locally, or sometimes it's automatically done that. But typically, these platforms will allow you to download the live stream, and you can repurpose it into a highlight reel or other types of additional content and upload it as a native video after.
That's right. This other question is a great one. I haven't seen this one before, actually. Just disappeared there, I think. But it's what do you allow for the ability to separate questions from comments? Because they're pretty different in nature, and can you help filter them out for the moderator? So currently, that's not something that we have available. That's the first time I've heard that suggestion. Is a good one. We'll definitely bring it back.
Yeah, we have heard a suggestion around specific features for Q&A. So that's definitely something we're thinking about as we continue learning.
This one's interesting. What tool does Advertising Week use? I'm actually not.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
That's a great question.
We can find out, but we don't know.
This next one, what's a better strategy? Streaming from an individual, we have kind of already answered that one. Streaming from an individual who has a larger audience or streaming from an official company page. Again, it's all about what you're trying to do, what the type of content is. If it's related to your organization and a big announcement, unless your company page is not very active and doesn't have a lot of followers, I would say that the page is probably the best place to start.
I like this question. Will the deck and slides be available afterwards? I want to share it with my team. I'm happy to say that actually everything I've just said is available in these playbooks that we actually have on the table over there, and we can hand them out to anybody who didn't get them afterwards. Additionally, in the LinkedIn Live Resource Hub that I had shared with you guys earlier, the same playbook is also available. I'll also share for our live audience a short link that will take you to a site where you can download this information as well. It's lnkd.in/pages BP. That's a short link to get you to basically our best practices site.
Oh, this is a good question. Do you need to grow your LinkedIn company page before starting a live streaming strategy? Yes and no, I would say. Currently, the way that people get notified that a live stream is happening is through notifications, and we have a very comprehensive notification strategy. However, that notification strategy is reliant on that person or that member being a follower of your page. So if you just launched your first company page, I would probably not apply for live streaming yet. What you can do is get some organic content on there, grow your follower base, use regular video, of course, to see if video is something that your followers would even want to see. And then once you have a steady growth and you see that video is really engaging for your follower base, that's when you can make the decision to apply for live video and develop a strategy.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I would say to get started on LinkedIn, you have to first create a foundation, like a brand story and identity, so people know who you are and why they should do business with you. And as you start to kind of figure out who's coming to your page, what kind of content is resonating, that's when you can start to amplify it with things like live. So agreed that it should come after you kind of built this foundation in a general audience. Can attendees of a live session be added to an audience for retargeting? That's
a great question. Not right now. We just launched in February, so we're taking all of this feedback and we are logging it. So that's a great suggestion, and we're definitely thinking about things like that. But currently, no. This is the other question, if you can answer it. What do brands consider a conversion on LinkedIn? What are the main KPIs brands are looking for when they use LinkedIn?
That's a great question. Typically, when I talk to brands about what they're hoping to achieve with live, it's actually less about conversion. It's just more about awareness. And so they're really looking for views and engagement. Those are really the top. Measured in comments, likes, and reactions is what I mean by engagement. So that's really the top thing that brands are looking for. And as you saw previously, we have really robust analytics to really help you understand how you're tracking against brand awareness, real-time engagement, as well as total engagement.
Yeah. I love this question. As a student, how can we use LinkedIn Live to help grow our page and possibly to help get a job? I would say there's lots of different ways that you could leverage LinkedIn Live for this, as well as other types of content types on LinkedIn. The most relevant thing I can suggest is when you're a student, start thinking about who you are as a professional. So this is your professional brand. Your professional brand is not always just your experience, your internships, and your work experience. It's about what you're passionate about, what you can offer. If you took any classes that really inspired you, what did you learn? And get on video and just talk about it. Talk very authentically about it. Ask questions to your followers who are tuning in. See if they ask questions back. Even after the stream is over, make sure you go and respond to all the comments that you get afterwards. And this is a great tool to help people see who you are beyond your resume, a little bit of peek behind who you are, the person behind the resume, rather. And doing it live is a great way to show your authenticity, so people know it's not totally scripted, you're not editing anything, and that you just want to have an honest conversations about the things that you're passionate about. So absolutely great tool to help you develop professionally in your career. I would recommend, again, same with Pages, that you will have better luck of getting actual people tuning into your stream if you work at doing organic videos. You can write articles on LinkedIn, posts, and developing that audience first, and then using LinkedIn Live once you know that you have a really engaged audience. So that's a good prerequisite.
There's a question I saw earlier about, I thought it was a great one, about the advantages of LinkedIn Live versus other platforms, like what makes it differentiated and unique. And so I just wanted to chime in here with actually a research that an independent research agency actually commissioned a report last year to understand what is the different consumer intent and mindset when they visit different media platforms. And I think they did the study across LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as Twitter. And what the research showed is that consumers consciously have a different mindset and intent when they go to different platforms. So for Facebook and Twitter, people are oftentimes going to be passively entertained, which I can identify with, and I think this is pretty common. But they found that when people go to LinkedIn, they're very purpose-driven. They're going to learn about industries that they care about, thought leadership topics that are important to them, and about opportunities that are available to them. So when people come onto the LinkedIn platform, you're not just like scrolling, you're actually like paying attention to the things that you're seeing. And that means they're a lot more receptive to whatever it is that comes across in the feed, including your live stream. So to me, I think that actually makes it a huge competitive advantage, that people are purpose-driven when they come to the platform, and therefore much more likely to be paying attention to what you're saying. And again, the examples that I shared earlier of how the same content was live streamed to other platforms, but still drove more engagement and views on our network, is because it's a really good fit for a professional audience. And so if you have something that has a professional spin to it, definitely live stream it, because I think you'll find really impressive results.
Mm-hmm. And to add on to that, both members and Pages, when they're on LinkedIn, they have to think a little bit more about making sure that the content they're sharing is professional and is valuable. Otherwise, it's not going to do that great on our platform. So more along the lines of us trying to maintain this high bar of quality content, that's this exact same way for LinkedIn Live as well. This is a good piece of feedback. So will you consider changing the design of the engagement, the likes, what we call reactions? The way they go across the screen can be unprofessional for our business. That's great feedback. Would encourage you to write to us to give us that feedback. We actually just recently launched reactions this past year, a few months ago. And the reason why we added reactions was because we wanted to give members a really lightweight, not scary way to interact with different content types. And if you notice, our reactions are pretty different from what you see on other platforms. They're all in the realm of professional use. So there's one that's celebrate, there's one that's thinking, that's curious. So we're trying to make it so that it's still professional, but also a very lightweight way to interact. But thank you for that feedback.
Mm-hmm. Will the ability for users to sign up ahead of time and be notified be added? So that's a great piece of feedback as well. Currently, you can't sign up early. I have seen some brands, what they do is they'll create a sponsored content campaign, drive people to a landing page where they can like register for a live stream and get their information. So I've seen that. We don't have anything currently in the product that does that. And to be notified, you have to be following the page. You'll get a push notification of when that page does go live.
And then this last question is also a great question. How would you suggest selling LinkedIn Live strategy to a company with a strong compliance culture where there may be apprehension about the truly live format? We've heard this before, especially from a lot of companies in the finance industry or legal industry. What we would suggest, and Ting, feel free to chime in, is that you start really lightweight and start with a very controversial stream. So don't start with a huge event. Maybe start with just having an AMA, like I was saying earlier, with your leadership team or executive team. Maybe do a behind the scenes sort of talent branding type of stream where you're interviewing your interns of the year or employees. Things like that would show what your company culture is like, and a little bit easier to do over live format and less risky. And then see if it's truly growing your engagement and you've gotten such great engagement, then that's a good way to show the value of it without fully investing in it right away. And then the other thing I would hone in on is what Ting was saying earlier with the best practices is having at least one person, if not a couple of people, monitoring that stream so that you can make sure to monitor comments that are spammy and things like that, so that when people look back at the replay, they're not seeing a bunch of non-professional comments. That's really important to do. Would you add anything?
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say as well. And I just add to that, like, you could look for examples of companies within a similar space that have also gone live. So, like, for example, in financial services, there's a very strict compliance culture, but they still managed to go live. So JP Morgan is a great example, right? Look for examples of other companies that have gone live, what's worked well, what hasn't, what kind of content are they talking about. Learning from each other, I think, is a really great way, especially if you're in a situation where there is a more kind of strict culture of compliance.
Yeah. Will there ever be stories on LinkedIn? I've heard that question before. So we actually piloted out a stories like product. It was not exactly the same for students. We called this Campus Playlist, and it was essentially a feature that pulled together all of student videos in a specific campus. So if you're at NYU, you would see the NYU playlist at the top of your feed on mobile only. And what that did was really interesting. First of all, we got a lot more student engagement. Students, I think, feel really it's not new to them. They feel very comfortable over video, especially short form video. This wasn't stories because it wasn't actually ephemeral. It was just pulling together all of the the videos that you were posting on your feed into a playlist and just put it at the top of your feed so you can just go through them very quickly. And so that was our first kind of pilot test into this format. So now we're just kind of reassessing, seeing how that did, seeing if there's desire to have it more broad than just for students, and then we'll have to assess.
All right, I think we're out of time. Thank you guys so much for coming here and for tuning in on the live stream. This is so much fun. Thank you guys.
Thank you.